Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football, TITTH number 37. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. I got Nick Davis and Emran Khan coming back. Say what's up, guys.
What's up, yo?
Good to be back, guys. Let's take it to the Hizzy.
Yeah, glad to have you back, sir. Not too unwell anymore?
Doing good. Some other news has got me feeling not good, but we'll hop into that.
Oh, gosh, I hear you, and I know exactly where you're going with that, but we'll get to that here in a minute. First off, we are leading off with recent news. We're taking off with Joe Mixon here, not coming back to practice, is optimistic to be back to practice soon. Dealing with migraines. My suspicion, like most people, was that he was just holding out for camp, but apparently been dealing with really bad migraines, doesn't have COVID. We saw this before in the past with Percy Harvin, receiver for the Vikings. Not really an issue that I've been aware of with Mixon in the past, but seems to be pretty prevalent right now. What do you guys think? Any instant reaction to this? Are you pulling him out of your first round for any reason, or is this just kind of a wait and see scenario for you?
For me, it's going to be a wait and see because migraines. Some people can deal with it and try and go about their daily lives, but one of the biggest examples of migraines taking away someone's career is Percy Harvin. He had a lot of migraines when he came into the league, and when he was in the NFL, it became a lot more. I guess it's harder hits, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They're definitely trying to work on the concussions and stuff, but as a running back, you're taking a lot of hits, and sometimes that just gives you migraines. I mean, I played offensive line and linebacker, and I still get a couple migraines every once in a while. So I don't know how these guys play football day in and day out at the professional level, because when I got to high school, those hits were no joke.
Well, yeah, certainly didn't have the no fun league protecting you, that's for sure.
That's true, yeah. I mean, it was kind of like street ball, to be honest. But, it's just a bunch of country kids playing football. So I am going to wait on Joe, but, he might fall to the second round. If he does fall to the second round, I might just scoop him up because he does have the talent.
Yeah, so this is one I would monitor as well. Like we always say, it depends on when you're drafting. Like some of us, like now at the end of August, a lot of drafts are going to be happening this weekend or next. So from what we've seen, this is not a chronic issue with him, like Nick was alluding to with Percy Harvin. So this could be just a few days, and he could be back for the regular season. The good news here, this is not a broken bone. This is not a torn ligament.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure it's just a serious injury, but I'd keep an eye on him. And if he does happen to fall, because somebody gets scared in your league, and you can get him in the middle of the second round, that's a steal. Also, the other thing to keep in mind is, if this turns out to be an issue that gets into the regular season, it may be worth snagging Gio Bernard in the later rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Gio Bernard is a really good handcuff. If you're looking at this running back field here, there's no depth. Behind Giovanni Bernard, you have Trevion Williams. They have Samaje Perine, who you're familiar with from the Washington football team. So they don't have a ton of depth there, and especially as far as guys that can. Giovanni Bernard, he's a scat back. He can catch the ball in the backfield, great, but he can't take it in between the tackles. Joe Mixon is, a hybrid guy, has that patience behind the line of scrimmage. Obviously, he doesn't have a ton of time behind that offensive line, but everybody's really high on him this year. You have Jonah Williams coming back, that I know that you're really high on, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
So
big dog.
There's optimism, for the run game this year. Obviously, you have, a potentially, better weapon in Joe Burrow at quarterback over Andy Dalton. Certainly a huge upgrade from Ryan Finley, who was there last year working for them. So, yeah, I mean, I love Joe Mixon this year. Honestly, I'd still keep him in the first round, even if I'm drafting this weekend. If you've ever missed work, if you've ever called off of work, what's the one excuse that you're going to use?
Migraines.
And Joe Mixon's in he's in a contract season. He's also kind of holding out. I alluded to that before. That was kind of my suspicion, as to many others. But now it's like, oh, well, I'm not holding out. It's migraines. I just had a migraine coach. Staying home today, take a little R&R. If you're going to use an excuse to get out of work, it's probably going to be a migraine excuse. So, you look unwell if your stomach doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
The migraine is the silent assassin, the silent killer of the body. So, yeah, I'm not taking it too seriously. It was interesting to see it kind of pop up as news today. Mm-hmm. Being the fact that we were kind of under the suspicion there could be holdout talk. So I don't really mind it. I'll still take him at the end of the first. Honestly, if I get him beyond like pick 7 or pick 8, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more value. I don't know about you guys.
I mean, he's one of those guys that has the 2 positions in one. He has that receiving ability, has
Yep.
that rushing ability. I'm not saying he's going to get 100 receptions and 1,000 rushing yards, but he's going to get He's going to get up there with CMC and Saquon Barkley. So he's definitely a talent. If some people want to let him fall to me, no problem. I'll take him.
Yeah, he's a guy last year that had 313 touches, a career high for him. His previous high was the year before at 280. So you have to like the progression. The past couple of years for Mixon, this inclusion in the offense. It is a contract year, so we talked before about guys when it's a tie. You look at that contract year. That's a big factor for you.
Yep, he's trying to get paid, and like the last couple of years, his touches have gone up every year since he's been in the NFL. And Bengals are going to have a young quarterback starting, and we're all big fans of Joe Burrow, the show. But I think they're going to definitely rely on the run this year, so you're going to get a lot of Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
And they have some other weapons. They got Tyler Boyd, you got T. Higgins out there potentially.
John Ross is out again with a hamstring.
Well, you might get AJ Green for a couple games.
4 or 5.
It's a couple.
That's how you win the league in the first couple weeks. So use that
and you flip them.
available.
and you flip them. That's one thing I teach you guys: flip them.
Yeah, if you get 2 great weeks out of AJ Green, you got to sell him high for sure. Next topic, we got David Montgomery. Yeah, sad to see it. No contact injury, groin injury. Looks like he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks at minimum. Could be longer than that. Instant reaction. Emron, I'm going to give it to you first. What do you got?
Yeah, so I had my own health issues this weekend, which were fine. But, yesterday seeing this news was very scary, right? Initial reports when they were coming out, and Bears are unfortunately one of those locations, teams and their locations for practice. They don't really let out a lot of information. They don't let reporters film or anything. Mm-hmm. So all you were getting secondhand was that Montgomery was carted off. Instantly, 90% of the time, when you hear carted off, it's season-ending injury. No matter what.
Twitter was burning him to the ground.
That's me. I was Twitter. But good news was that it was not any knee injury, any leg injury. It was a groin pull, which I know David Montgomery is probably listening to this and saying, "Dude, what the hell? That's painful." But he's not going to miss significant time.
It could have been worse.
Could have been worse, thank God. But 2 to 4 weeks, I think we were talking before the show. I think it's going to be close to that 4-week mark. I think they're going to rush him back because they, one, that's an injury that can linger, just like a hamstring. Last week we were telling you I was very high on Montgomery. I expected a big role for him in this offense. This kind of, affects that, obviously. Justin's got him ranked at David Montgomery ranked at number 19. Probably going to drop from a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. There, 5 or 7 spots, if not.
Maybe, depending on more. So I would expect him, personally, I wouldn't expect him to play week 1 or week 2, or if he's playing, he's not going to play a lot. But I think if they rest him and he gets a chance to play, could have some value. What are you guys thinking now with the news?
Oof, man, that's really unfortunate. I just said that the first few weeks are really where you start building your standings in the fantasy league. So, for me, I'm going to be staying away, until the later rounds. Let him fall to me. It's very unfortunate because he did have basically everything set up and the odds in his favor to have a great season. Mm-hmm. But, with the groin going down, that's going to take away a lot of his lateral movement. It's not good as a running back because, you're definitely going north and south, but you got to go east and west sometimes too. Yep. And you just won't have that the same quickness that he does have. So it's very unfortunate, but I'm going to be staying away on draft day.
Yeah, really disappointed. He was great value that you could scoop up in the 5th or 6th round in single quarterback 12-team leagues.
Yep.
So he was great value for you in the mid rounds as a starting running back. A guy that you were looking to build off of a respectable rookie season. Pull up the total touches here for him. I don't have it. Regardless, the Bears are going to miss out on him. We've been talking about who's going to fill in, potential guys you could go out and grab. Spencer Ware's a name we've brought up. Devontae Freeman's a name we've brought up. Mm-hmm. I like the concept of trading for an older guy. I've been saying it pretty much all offseason. Give me AP on the Bears.
Gonna get his 800 or no AP on the
Adrian Peterson. Sorry,
on the Washington football team.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's going to get his 800 yards in Washington, man. He's a guy that I see that's just he's very consistent in that
Mhm.
sense. Is like if you're looking for someone in those back end rounds where you're just like, man, I just need someone to just fill in some points for me. Sometimes AP is that guy for you. I mean, I'm definitely looking for him in those later rounds to fill in my bench because I just did kind of like a quick mock draft and he kind of fell to my bench. I was like, oh, perfect, man. Like he's someone that can fill in if there's an injury. And I like him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So Montgomery was 267 total touches last year. It's not that far from 300. I mean, he could have easily gotten 300 touches this year. I don't see that being the case anymore. You know, if he falls to me in like the 10th or 11th round, I might be able to scoop him up, but I'm not going to feel great about it, you know, because this is a guy that could come in. If he does come back week 4, week 5, he could easily re-injure himself, and he could be a very big risk for you in fantasy. So where he was at great value before, he kind of seems like a landmine now, no?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Originally, like Justin mentioned, in most mocks I was snagging him in rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7, and I felt really good about it.
Yeah.
As an RB2 and potentially like a low end RB1 to give him the work he was going to get.
Yep.
This is really hard to determine, guys. And you know, with this injury, I probably would drop him down to that 10 to 11 range. He's got a little bit of upside. You know, because I think he's going to get a lot of work. But, you know, removing Montgomery from his backfield, keep an eye on Tariq Cohen. You know, every year he's been in the NFL, his catches have gone up. He had 79 last year. A lot of them were checkdowns and not as big plays as we would like. Cordero Patterson is listed as a running back. And this is something a lot of us, me and Justin, are talking about it. I mean, they've been saying he's doing great things in camp, but he's never been a full-time running back. So they don't really have an in-between guy. So like Justin mentioned, Spencer Ware, he's got familiarity with Nagy. That would make a lot of sense. Devontae Freeman's another guy out there. But if one of those two guys gets signed in the next 2 weeks, this backfield's now a full-blown committee. And one of the playing things we liked about Montgomery was he was the lead horse.
Yep.
So another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love if Lamar Miller was available right now. Lamar Miller sucks, but he can take the ball 3 to 4 yards up the middle. And right now, that's really all the Bears need is just that guy that can go north and south 3 to 5 yards. And they still have Tariq Cohen there, like you alluded to catch balls out of the backfield. They need a power runner. I don't believe in Cordell Patterson at the running back position.
Not full time.
No, absolutely. I was telling you before, I think 70 carries, 75 carries at most.
Which is still a lot.
For the year. And that's, still like 3 to 4 carries a game at least. And I think that's literally just to take off or just to give one of these other guys a breather.
Change of pace also.
Change of pace play. Gadget play. Try to get a chunk play going. Whatever it is, it's not going to be something that's consistent. You know, if you're going 3 to 4 times, you're looking at 1 play a quarter. You know, like that's not real volume and not someone that you're going to be able to depend on in that system.
I see Cordell Patterson, like, you know, when they're saying that he was a wide receiver and a kick returner, but now he's
just a specialist.
He's becoming an offensive weapon. Like, you know, that's kind of how I see it. But, you know, hopefully he has a little bit more success than Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin was kind of like that same breed. He's smaller, but they have the same speed and same abilities. You know, hopefully Cordell Patterson can break out and actually be that type of player. But the last person I heard that was actually a receiver and was named as a running back, Ty Montgomery. He did absolutely nothing.
Now, and the other thing with Cordero Patterson too is he was actually All Pro last year as a special teamer. So they have him like not just returning, but they have him like covering kicks, and
nice.
he laid out a devastating hit against the Packers, which was not a penalty. So he does a lot. So that's where I get worried. Like if you're Matt Nagy, do you want to try him and give him a bigger load and like limit his?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm just like, this is one backfield to monitor.
I feel like everyone's looking for that next Taysom Hill. Let me take my gadget guy and let me just throw him at quarterback. Let me just throw him at running back. Let me throw him at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Let's just see what we get out of it. Kind of previous years with Devin Hester. Well, we got nothing. Let's throw this guy at wide receiver because maybe we might score another touchdown or two, right?
Yep.
So, you know, I do see some of that as just throwing darts at the wall, trying to land on something with one of your gadget guys, someone that, you know, if out in space is deadly, is a weapon, right? But at the same time, I think the Bears are going to be hurting big time from this. Shout out Mike Taglieri from Fantasy Pros. He was one of the people that were like instantly reacted to this. Illinois native. I'm not sure if he's a Bears fan or not, but his first reaction, and I sent this to the group text, was trade a 4th round pick for Leonard Fournette. I mean, I would be all over that. I don't think that's going to get it done. But, the Jaguars are open about trading.
No secrets there.
Yeah, they're about trading their weapons, about rebuilding.
Yeah.
Did they get rid of Ngakoue yet?
Not yet. That's probably going to drop soon, but the season getting close. But I think I like Fournette in the offense. I think he'd be a good fit. 4 is a little high for me because he's in the last year of his. If you can, I
think that 4 would be respectable for a guy like Fournette. I think if someone's willing to have that conversation with you right now, and that's literally just based off of the Bears offseason, right? Like, they really feel like they're all in.
Yeah, so
all the moves that they made, offense and defensive side of the ball.
And this wouldn't be the first trade they made with the Jaguars this offseason. So, there's a little bit of rapport there. If the Jaguars are going to full-blown tank mode, hey, add another pick, get rid of a guy you don't want there anyways, who doesn't want to be there. I would just hope the Bears, if they could maybe get lucky with Jacksonville and say, hey, we give you a 4 for Foles. Let's get a 5th or a 6th for Fournette. Just get him off your hands.
Yeah.
I'd be all over it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really think that if you do make a move like that, that's a good option. That's a good option. I mentioned a cheaper option in Adrian Peterson that I think could work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think there's some spots out there. I think the golden ticket option, Kareem Hunt, right? Like, that's like,
if you want to get all in,
yeah, that's the all in move for sure. Like, first round, second round. Wow, we have a first round pick to trade.
We do.
So let's get rid of that shit.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of it while we still can. All right. Next up, we got Kalen Ballage going to the Jets. Also, kind of touching on Bell and Gore splitting carries out of that backfield. We've been telling you all preseason, all offseason, Bell is a stay away from candidate. Talking about splitting carries with Frank Gore. Respect to Frank Gore still being in the league, being able to produce anything in the NFL at his age. But come on, like, let Bell eat. I don't get it. And then Kalen Ballage, he's a guy that literally, they were about to drop him off the roster in Miami. They were about to cut him, and the Jets did, like you said, say it.
They did what the Jets do.
The most Jets thing ever.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
The goddamn Jets.
The goddamn Jets.
I just don't get it. Like, you're crowding this backfield more. Like, you paid all that money to Le'Veon Bell. Let the guy eat. Understand when Frank Gore's there. It's okay to have a little bit of depth, and he can give him a breather. But why trade for Ballage? Like, nothing against Ballage, but dude was about to get cut.
They have LaMichael Pirine there, too. They drafted him in, the 4th or 5th round?
Yeah, it's just
like... He's good at Florida.
I just don't understand what teams see in Adam Gase to keep giving him the keys. And the Jets not only made him head coach, but he's running the team. He's going to run him into the ground.
Guys, don't worry. Adam Gase has his eyes wide open for the next running back because he can't find a running back in his own building.
And he can't close his eyes. Like, I really don't get it. It's an enigma. That whole team. We were talking about Jamison Crowder on the last episode.
Oh man!
Don't follow any of this Jets hype, guys.
Who's hyping him?
Anyone and everyone.
The only hype that I'm buying actually is Mekhi Becton, who's like 6'7", that giant. I think
you never know who's going to run behind him.
Yeah,
if they even run.
I think he's just going to keep Sammy's blind side, very safe. But that's the only hype that I'm buying. But anyone else, like weapon wise, nope, I'm staying away. No.
Yeah, on the last episode, we were talking about the wide receiver coach hyping up Jamison Crowder, who's going to get 90 catches, 12 more catches than he recorded this year. Okay, so he's going to record 1 more catch per game. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for the information, sir.
Yeah, it's just the only person I was intrigued with on the Jets really was Denzel Mims, their rookie receiver. Tall, fast. He's battling injuries though, but this team just screams like a mess to me. They're going to finish last place in that division by a lot. I was okay with Bell in the mid rounds. Now this backfield is just I just don't want to touch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Herndon, the tight end, maybe the only safe piece in drafting off this team. But can't stay healthy or get suspended for something.
Yeah, it's just,
I'm not really that interested in him either. I'd rather have we've talked about Jack Doyle, Noah Fant at the end of drafts, T.J. Hawkinson's, those type of guys that are available. Eric Ebron, who you mentioned. So not really interested in him. But realistically, if you're looking at touchdown volume, someone that's going to get targeted in the red zone and actually score points. I see him and Crowder cleaning up the scraps. I obviously expect them to be playing from behind, so someone has to catch the ball at some point.
Yep.
But I don't see, Darnold as anything special, whatsoever. Yeah, the run game, it's pitiful. Ballage, adding depth to an already really deep backfield. Don't draft any of these guys. There's no point. I'm telling you, if you have 11 bench spots, 14 bench spots, do not draft a Jets running back. They have no value whatsoever. All right, so closing out recent news, we got some news out of the Seattle backfield. A lot of these backups getting a ton of hype. CD Dallas getting some talk, catching balls out of the backfield. You have Carlos Hyde getting talked up by Pete Carroll. All of this really just threatening, the value for Chris Carson. What do you guys think? Are you still drafting Chris Carson this year with all this hype with the rest of this backfield? Don't forget, you still have Rashad Penny there as well.
I was not going to be drafting Chris Carson from the beginning because to me, he has fumbling issues and he just kind of gets those 3 yards falling forward and that's it. He's nothing really special to me. The one person that I'm really excited about in Seattle is DJ Dallas. He at Miami, the Miami Hurricanes, they were kind of like a team that really depended on their defense and their offense was still trying to find their identity. Well, DJ, every time he came in, he ran the ball hard, ran the ball fast, and he was probably one of the few weapons that was on the Miami offense. I really like him. He's shown that he can play against top programs, so those guys are going to be in the NFL with him as well. I think the one that's really going to threaten Carson is DJ Dallas.
I have always liked Chris Carson. He's always been productive. He was drafted in the 7th round. I think Seattle got really lucky with him. Seattle's tried to replace him before, and I don't get why. They drafted Rashad Penny in the 1st round a couple years ago. Every year that Chris Carson's been in the NFL, this is going to be his 4th year in the NFL, his rushing attempts, his rushing yards, his receptions, receiving yards have gone up every year. The guy gets more work and he gets more productive. Now, like Nick mentioned, the one thing that was concerning last year is that huge spike in fumbles. We had 7. He only had 3 the year before, which is you can kind of live with that. 7 is a lot, and those minus points can add up in games when things get close. But honestly, for me, I'm just gonna wait for somebody to take his job because it hasn't happened yet. The guy's just been productive, and by the way, final year of his contract.
Yeah, another guy that you've alluded to for that. Chris Carson right now going in the 4th round. There's not a ton of risk for you taking him there, but in my opinion, you want this guy as your 2nd running back at best, and I still think that might be risky for you this year because while he is catching more passes every year, they're still not very high. He caught 37 last year. And I want to say it was like 20 the year before that. Yeah, 20 the year before that. So, yeah, they're growing, but it's still small. And we did see, more inclusion of, DK Metcalf. You have Lockett there. They're both healthy. They brought in Greg Olsen. So, a couple more mouths to feed. Obviously, the offense, the passing offense looks good, but we continue to get more and more talk about how the Seahawks are going to hammer the ball. They're going to use all these running backs. They're going to be really deep in the running game. And I think that's just going to hold me off from drafting Carson this year. In standard leagues, I think he has some premium value. 278 carries last year, 4.7 yards a carry. That's really good. Hovering around 5 yards a carry is solid. And I think in standard leagues, you cannot disregard this guy. But in PPR, I think I'm going to back him off. He's my running back 16 right now, and I think I'm going to be backing him a little bit deeper, a few more spots. Just and initially because I'm bringing up guys, right? I'm bringing up Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm bringing up a few others. So I'm definitely going to be dropping him back. I would feel more comfortable taking him as my flex, as my 3rd running back if I can. Getting him at value another round later, beyond 4 at 5, that just means that I can still draft, 3 wide receivers and 2 stud running backs, or 3 running backs and 2 stud receivers. So I'm really comfortable taking him in the 5th or 6th round. Would not chase him into the 4th or 3rd. What do you think, Nick? Or sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was going to say in the 4th round, I agree with you. I think there's still some value on the board. And the other thing was Rashad Penny's still on the PUP list, recovering from his torn ACL. He'll be back at some point, but I think it's going to be one of those where he'll be slow. So I'm a 4th round. If I'm drafting at the end of the 4th, I'm okay with it. Early 4th, probably not. I think there's some value. Nick, what would you do?
Avoid. Kind of like how Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to be avoiding. There's just other people that I trust a lot more than Chris Carson. I'd rather take a shot on a rookie running back, like maybe Jonathan Taylor in Annapolis. Rather have him than Chris Carson, just because those fumbling issues, I watched those last year and those were pretty bad. And
they weren't good, but that's
7's a lot.
But that's a rich take for Taylor.
So, would take Taylor in 4, or just you prefer him?
No, I would prefer to take Taylor.
Okay.
Just not at 4.
Yeah. Because I was going to say Taylor's going a couple rounds later there.
Yeah, but I'd rather wait till later and get those, possibly like a better wide receiver or maybe, one of those top tight ends. I mean, Mark Andrews was drafted right before him, so, you're kind of like in that area. I could pick up Darren Waller instead, and I'd be more happy with him than Chris Carson. So I'm just avoiding. No deal for me.
Yeah, I think if someone's saying, hey, what running back are you taking there? Like, what running back rather than another piece? I'm still
Mark Ingram.
Yeah, I like Mark Ingram. I even like David Johnson, to be honest with you. He's growing on me a little bit more. He's growing on me a little bit more. I think just the Houston offense is just
he's a DND for me too.
What's that?
Do not draft.
Oh, for David Johnson?
Yeah,
he's growing on me. I think Houston in general is just growing on me, and that's just because of my lack of excitement for the receivers. I just have no love for those guys. So
Randall Cobb.
Yeah, I got nothing. But yeah, I don't hate James Conner there, David Johnson, Mark Ingram, Le'Veon Bell. Don't like Devin Singletary. Kind of in the same space as Carson. I want another round or two later. Man, I wouldn't hate Raheem Mostert, to be perfectly honest, but you just don't have to pull him up that high.
Yeah.
You just don't have to pull him up that high. You don't have to.
I just feel like Pete Carroll's trying to find his next beast mode, and that's why he's just like hoarding running backs in the backfield.
He could.
And honestly, like after last year with those fumble issues, that's why he's bringing in more running backs, because if those issues happen again, I feel like it's gonna be a quick a short leash for him. So he's got to have someone to throw in there. I think there is someone in that room that can become the lead back, but Chris Carson is going to get the first look, but it's his to lose, and I think he's going to lose it.
Well, technically, Marshawn Lynch Beast Mode did play a game for them last year, the last game of the season.
He's kind of like a mercenary. He just kind of like shows up, does his thing, and just runs the ball hard. But I'm talking like they're trying to get back to where they were when they won the Super Bowl. Like,
sure.
Like they just got Jamal Adams. The Legion of Boom is coming back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very hyped on their defense, but their offense, they just have Russell Wilson, and then now they have DK Metcalf. They need a running back to be able to bring up or set up the play action for Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson is really strong in the play action. They just don't have a running back that can actually cause defenses to bite on that play action. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, Carson is a guy that's definitely going to have the box loaded on him, significantly every year, and that's just the nature of him as a talent, right? He's a downhill runner, in between the tackles guy, not a scat back. Doesn't have a ton of lateral movement or speed laterally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's just going to be the downhill guy. They're going to load the box on him, and I still see him having success this year. I just don't want to pay for the fourth round for Carson right now with all of this talk about this backfield. And maybe it's a smokescreen. Maybe they're just trying to really, ease the way for Carson this year, and he's going to be the guy. But for the fourth round, I feel like I can do better.
You guys think he cracks 1,000 yards?
I think he's done it the past 2 years, so I don't see why not. He just needs a lot of work. Needs a lot of volume to get it.
What about you, Nick?
Nope.
I do too. I expect another 1,200 yard season from him. I just think he's going to get the work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're still going to try and pound the ball on the ground. I just think that they're gonna spread it out. I think they are going to use multiple running backs. He's not going to be a bell cow. I don't think that term will be safe to use for Carson this year. And we do still have a growing passing game. You have Lockett there, you have Metcalf, and you have Olsen coming in. He didn't come in just to block. So, you do have some growth and progression always there. Russell Wilson, he's always throwing at least 30 touchdowns a season, right? I think it's 3 or 4 seasons in a row now. He's gone over 30 passing touchdowns. So that still needs to be taken into consideration. Just not pulling him into the fourth round. I'd like him in the 5th or 6th. It's just a little too rich for me. Okay, moving into our other topics, we got the Jimmy Garoppolo passing prop. His total was posted at, I want to say, 38.50
and a half. Yeah.
Yep, 38.50 and a half. That is 50 yards lower than I had looked up. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was before the Deebo Samuel injury. They lowered it about 50 yards with the injury, and I kind of get that. As far as optics look, that's the thing to do, right? You want to drive people to the under, because it's probably gonna go to the over. You got to make your money. And I think it's a little naive to think that he can't do the same or can't achieve the same production when realistically he never had a wide receiver 1 last year. Emmanuel Sanders is good, but he's not necessarily great. And I don't think that his absence is going to mean Garoppolo's value is in the can now. He's just not going to be able to move the ball. You still have Brandon Ayuk coming in, who's getting a ton of camp talk. You have Kendrick Bourne, who's very familiar with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jalen Hurd was somebody that I was on, but he's hurt.
Again.
They have Pettis there, who's kind of a name still, came onto the fantasy scene at the end of 2 seasons ago. Didn't really show up for people last year. I think that he was a take that did not work out for many fantasy pundits last year. And then, of course, you have tight end 1, or tight end 2, we should say, George Kittle, who is one of the best tight ends in the league. He's a guy that I think can hit over 100 catches this year, especially if Debo misses time. 38, 50 guys. What do you think about Garoppolo this year? Can he hit it?
It's a number. I think
it's a number.
It's a number. It's a number that makes you think, because if you think if he's going to do what he did last year, then yeah, he's going to get it. But I think so. I think the way that offense is designed, running the ball, setting up the pass, I think he's going to get that number again. I think Garoppolo, if last year showed me if it's any indication, him finally getting a full 16 games, I think he's going to be a Kirk Cousins type of quarterback. His numbers are always going to look very sexy. He's just his production on the field and crunch time and playoffs is going to be a little bit questionable. I think he'll hit it. I think that offense is going to be spread out. They also, just signed, their secret weapon for the year, Kevin White. So I'm totally. I'll laugh all you want. The revenge tour is starting. But all jokes aside, I think Deebo Samuel will eventually get healthy. I just love the playmaking ability he has, just getting the ball. George Kittle is an absolute monster. If Jordan Reed can stay healthy, I think those two tight end sets are going to look interesting. And then, Coleman, Mostert out of the backfield, do some damage. So I think 4,000 yards, the way this offense is designed, I think it's very achievable.
What do you think, Nick?
Honestly, I'm kind of against it because I'm gonna say under because last year he only got 3,978 yards. Kyle Shanahan is from Mike Shanahan, who's his dad, who's really into zone blocking running. That's why he has that running back by committee, because it honestly doesn't matter who's the running back. They're going to get 1,000 yards no matter what, as long as the offensive line knows what they're doing. They got Mike McGlinchey. They got Trent Williams, the polar bear, going against Joey Bosa in practice. I love those going against each other. That's iron sharpening iron. Mm-hmm. Kyle Shanahan rushed for 2,305 yards. He just threw over 4,000 yards. I think that they lean on the run so much that I just don't see Jimmy being that gunslinger where you can just be like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to get over 4,000 yards. He's not like Breeze. He's not like Winston. He's a game manager. He's honestly probably a more elite Alex Smith. So I'm going to say under, because the offense is not built for him to actually achieve those goals. He might be able to achieve those goals if he has better weapons. I'm not saying that George Kittle isn't going to get his 1,000 or a receiver won't get close to 800-900 yards, but I don't see him reaching over 3,800 for the season, just because they're a running back team.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can't hide from that, right? Last year, they were second in the league in rushing attempts, and they were 29th in passing attempts.
Boom, there we go.
But he still hit it. So I suspect.
What about those 7 pass attempts during the playoffs?
Well, playoffs.
They don't matter in fantasy.
They don't count. They don't count for the prop either. It's only your first 16 games. Regardless, I suspect that with Garoppolo's progression, like with most second-year quarterbacks that we've seen, you've highlighted previously with points with Lamar and Patrick Mahomes, right? That their second year of full work, they take off, right? And if we're following the same trend here, let's just say, they aren't, third to last in passing, they're fifth.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more value there, right? Maybe they rush the ball, fourth or fifth most and not second most, right? So I think that little extra value this year could do a ton for Garoppolo. He only has to hit 243 passing yards each game to hit this prop, and he's done it, he did 10 out of 16 games last year. And that was a year where, he did lack some efficiency, especially down the stretch. And I think that a lot of people have that bad taste in their mouth from Garoppolo, from the Super Bowl, from the NFC Championship game, and they forget really everything before that.
Yep.
And that's when he had a ton of success. But he did not close the year down as a clutch, elite quarterback, and I think that's the taste that everybody still has in their mouths. And to your point about him not being clutch, damn it, I saw him at EIU lose his playoff game to Terrence motherfucking West from Towson. Bastards. I loved that game. It was amazing, but Garoppolo was the only one showing up, and he couldn't do enough, Yeah. And it was not the same thing in the Super Bowl, I'll say that. It was the rest of the team around him, And realistically, Manny Sanders catches that ball down the field, and I feel like people are talking a little bit differently about,
Well, if he puts on the money.
I was going to say maybe if he puts it in his fucking hands, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe people are changing their tune about him. But I think that a lot of this is, bad taste in people's mouth from the way that Jimmy closed down.
And another thing I was going to add, the offenses has changed so much. It's a passing league. What does that mean? 4,000 yards 5, 6, 7 years ago was a big thing, right? Oh my God, it's cool. Now it's like whatever. 240, 250 yards. That's not a lot to do. And it's we were talking about quarterbacks in their second season. This is actually going to be his fourth season with Kyle Shanahan. First season was after his trade to the Patriots. From the Patriots, it was only a few games. He was hurt in 2018. He got full 16 games last year. So I'm expecting some progression. And just by him playing in those full 16 games, I don't think 38-50 is a lot by any means.
I'm looking at the schedule, the upcoming schedule for them.
And we're getting into it now.
Oh, I'm getting into it.
We're going deep
into it because I see a stretch of games where it's going to be hard for him. And last year, the one team that he's playing again this year that I'm like, oh, he's going to get like 400 yards, the Washington football team. Guess what he did last year? He only passed for, it was like 150 yards against him, and that game was 9-0. So I'm kind of like,
rain. Wasn't there was a weather thing. I was going to say that doesn't sound like the Niners at all.
Still
13-3 team.
So I'm still looking at it because the Washington football team's defense was like Swiss cheese, and I went to the Monday night game, and I can attest to that. So the game of stretches or the stretch of games that I'm looking at that I'm like, man, it's gonna be real hard for them. Is the New York Giants week 3?
No, not the Giants.
They got James Bradbury. Okay, so hold on, look, James Bradbury.
Where's the game? Where's the game?
It's at New York.
The West Coast.
Then,
maybe.
Okay. Then he goes against Philadelphia. Okay.
Where's the game? That's a good one.
Then luckily he gets a nice little break against Miami. And then he goes against the Rams, the Patriots, the Seahawks, the Packers, the Saints, bye week, and then the Rams, and then the Bills.
So that stretch where you started, that sounds more dangerous. That stretch when you started with what was it, the Patriots or the one before the Patriots?
The Rams.
Yeah, they have a good secondary.
Yeah,
obviously.
But it's just like the teams that you're expecting him to beat up on and pad those stats, he's not padding those stats. There were a lot of games where he didn't eclipse 200 yards in this his passing yards.
6.
Yeah, 6. I mean, that's what more.
But you don't.
But he still got it though last year.
But he still got it, and that's the whole concept of the prop. Is you don't need him to hit it in every game.
Not every game. Yeah.
You just need to hit it in more than most.
But I'm looking at how the offense is built, and in this kind of NFL, Emma was just talking about how it's becoming more a high flying offense. Mm-hmm. This guy's getting 150 yards passing in games. That's not a high flying offense to me. So that game is this offense is built on the run, the zone blocking run, and those stretch of games that I was talking about. Those teams have some secondaries, and he's a game manager. He's not going to make the mistakes, but he's not going to take the downfield shots to get those yards. Mm-hmm. So I just see that stretch of games, him really struggling to get those 243 yards.
Yeah.
I don't see him getting it. I see them actually depending on the run like that.
Well, he did it more often than not last year, so we'll have to.
There's going to be a fun one to visit.
I was going to say we're definitely coming back to this one. There's going to be some side bets for sure on this Jimmy Garoppolo prop. I mean, man, FanDuel's giving you all the value. You're just like, hammer that under, straight to the under.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean that's why we're here to talk about it. That's the whole point.
Yep.
The one guy that I'm actually really high on this year, Justin had the article out, but it's Dan Jones, Danny Dumbbells. I really like, it's no longer Danny Dimes because, he's no longer a stick figure. He came out looking like Saquon Barkley's twin brother with the quads, and I'm really excited about that.
He's thick.
He looks good.
And he was in quarantine, right? Like, so he used that quarantine time as efficiently as possible. He's coming out swinging. He has all of his weapons, available to him. Darius Slayton is coming into his second year. Evan Ingram, I've been seeing a lot of good things about him. And Saquon Barkley is just going to be that dog like he is always, man. So I'm really excited for Danny Jones. He's going to do great things this year.
Yeah.
So I just think that, definitely trust him. He's not just a rising star in the NFL. He's rising in value to be able to help your team win the fantasy week to week. So I'm excited about him. I'm trusting on Dan Jones.
Yeah, he's definitely a dark horse quarterback to finish at QB1 for sure. In comparison to Garoppolo, certainly has bountiful more weapons around him in the passing game. That's for certain. Wasn't as efficient as Garoppolo was last year. Garoppolo was throwing like 67%.
Yep.
Dan Jones about 60%. So a little bit of room to grow there. But I think with everyone healthy, I think that's easily doable, right? He didn't have all of these guys on the field at once.
Yeah.
You know, they were always missing somebody, whether it was Ingram and then
A lot of injuries.
Ingram, Tate, Shepard were all in and out. Darius Slayton, I think, was the most consistent piece, but even he missed
a couple games.
Yeah,
too.
he still missed a couple of games. And then Barkley, he missed about 3 or 4 games. So all of these guys being on the field and healthy lends the offense incredible upside to start the year. We've talked up the Giants a ton this preseason. So all of us have high expectations for everyone on this offense. They all just got to stay healthy, and that's going to be the most important thing. So as you start seeing bodies fall, whether it's an older guy like Tate or it's a disappointing situation with like Barkley if something happens, right? As they start to fall, you're going to see that upside start to go down and down. But with that happening, one of these guys could skyrocket, right?
Yeah.
So if the receivers or Ingram goes down again, look for Barkley to climb. If you see Tate or Shepard to go down, look for Ingram and Slayton to climb. So really high on Dan Jones, someone I think that you can grab at value in the mid or back end of your drafts.
Yep.
Not someone that people are really high on.
Not a lot of people are talking about him, and I think you can get him in the later part of your draft. If you're in a single quarterback league, this is a good backup to have. Like he had a very sneaky year last year, 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns passing. He also almost had, in 13 games, 300 yards rushing and a couple touchdowns. So he's got a little bit of action with his legs, where he can get some extra points. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a guy, if you're in a super flex league, this will be an awesome number 2 quarterback to have. Yeah. You get some really good value from him. And like Justin mentioned, the Giants, that's the New York team you want some stock in with all those weapons.
Yeah.
That's weapons.
Yes, sir.
And if they're healthy, this is a pretty formidable offense. You have a top 3 running back or tight end that could easily be top 5 with all of his ability, and a respectable wide receiver group led by Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate, and Slayton. So he's got some weapons to work with, right? And they're investing in the O-line. So I'm hoping Justin's got him at 18, quarterback 18. I'm perfectly fine with that. So my backup quarterback in a single QB league, QB2 and a super flex, I'd be happy with that. This is some guy with some upside.
I really like Joe Judge too. They were talking about taking off the red jersey of Dan Jones and having him get a little bit of contact in practice. But he also said that they weren't going to do that, but they were going to take him out back and hit him with a bunch of socks full of soap. Get his physicality up. So I just think there's a new culture in New York. I think Dan Jones is going to be in the front of it. I think that they drafted Andrew Thomas in the first round.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a great pick. Always love
help that O-line out.
O-line picks in the first round, because that shows that they're believing in their weapons. They're believing in the people that they have there. They're just trying to keep everyone healthy. The Giants have the right idea, so I'm definitely buying some stock in some New York Giants for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at Jimmy Garoppolo, 3850.5, right? Mm-hmm. Dan Jones, his yardage prop, sitting at 3799.5. Nick, you got to be hammering this over.
Let me see where he was at last year. I'm pulling him up real quick.
He was on pace for 4,000 yards. He averaged 250 passing yards a game.
Over.
That's what I'm saying. You got to hammer this
because you
got to take it.
The offense is built differently. Like They're going to run the ball with Saquon Barkley, but they're also going to give him the ball out in space, and they're going to let their receivers and weapons do the work.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a way different defense or offense compared to the 49ers. I'm hammering the over on this one for sure.
Pretty easy one for you too?
I think so. I think it's going to continue this year. I think even with the weapons the Giants have, I think they're going to still be trailing in some games, so a lot of garbage time points from him, like Justin mentioned his piece. I would probably hit the over on that. Yeah,
alluding to that, Xavier McKinney just went down with injury.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Second round pick.
Yep.
So we were just talking up Andrew Thomas, but their second round pick, Xavier McKinney going down. You were kind of talking about James Bradbury in that secondary. Their secondary has a lot of holes in it. What was it? Jabril Peppers and Julian Love at safety is going to be a huge liability. James Bradbury is really the only sound piece they have, and sorry,
he can only do so much.
And yeah, I was going to say he's only done so much the past few seasons for Carolina too. So I'm not really hyped up about that backfield. I expect a lot more garbage time.
I'm actually high on these guys. because Jabril Peppers is one of those guys. He's kind of in that mold of Tavon Austin. He's so athletic. He can do almost everything on the field, but they don't know where to put him. They're talking about putting him on the outside due to DeAndre Baker's legal issues for the corner. So
that doesn't excite me.
But
that's secondary.
But for me is when I was talking about James Bradbury, going against the 49ers, I wasn't hyping him up as like, oh man, he's the best corner. It was
he's gonna lock out Garoppolo.
I'm not saying that at all. It's just that Jimmy G really only has one proven weapon on his team right now, and that's healthy.
Kittle.
So exactly.
Yeah.
So there's probably gonna be a safety on there, but he's not gonna be facing a number one receiver on that team. So he's gonna be better than that man. He's gonna shut down the second receiver. So that's what I meant by that. I wasn't hyping.
That's not what he meant, George Kittle. That's not what he meant.
Whatever.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I don't love their backfield. I don't love the Giants' defense necessarily. So I do see a ton of upside for Dan Jones. I think that prop is way too low. I think $37.99 is way too low for a guy that was on pace for 4,000 last year. I think 39, 50, 41,
he's going to flirt
40,
with
50. I think that's a better, more alluring type of prop to get people to bite. I think 3,800 is way too juicy on the over there.
He got 3,027 yards in 13 games last year.
It was 12 because the one game he only threw like 17 yards.
Okay, so 12 games, even better.
Yeah, he averaged 250 passing a game.
And didn't the NFL add a game this year? So
that's next year.
Next year. Oh man, I was like, then definitely hammer it. But
fuck, hell yeah, hell yeah.
I'm a year early, guys.
Extra
Sorry about
games.
that. 2020 has been a little.
We're going to be passing for 60 touchdowns and 6,000 yards.
It's going to be arena football
in a couple of years here. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. The stats. It's going to be nuts. And we're going to need like 15-team leagues. It's going to be terrible, just to make it fair for everybody. So yeah, grab yourself some Dan Jones this year. What are some other dark horse QBs you guys are thinking about? Some dark horse QB1s you're considering, I should say.
Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. I wanted to make sure I said his name right. Shout out to Chad Dukes, always having the Kirk or Kurt alert. So I always try to make sure to say it correctly. Yeah, it's on the fan. So,
okay.
But yeah, Kirk Cousins is one of the best game managers in the game. He does not make mistakes. He has thrown over 4,000 yards in a very anemic offense in Washington when Jay Gruden was there. He was definitely trying to play for that contract, but he still got over those yards, and he didn't make mistakes. The most interceptions he's thrown is 13 interceptions. But last year, he only threw, I believe it was like 6 interceptions to over 25 touchdowns. So I'm high on him. And also, Justin Jefferson that they drafted is a horse to follow for wide receivers. He got 111 receptions for over 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. He had like a 13.2 average per reception. He's just a little bit different a little bit more of a deeper threat than what Stephon Diggs is, and he's definitely got a little bit more speed than Adam Thielen. So I see his passing yards getting a little higher because he has a new, fresh weapon that has a little bit more speed than what Diggs had.
Yeah, I'm going to take the contrarian road there. I'm not going to be going with Cousins for. I mean, I have him at quarterback 16 because he is a game manager and he doesn't make mistakes and he doesn't turn the ball over. But that's just based off of the Minnesota system, right? I mean, he threw for 444 times last year, career low, I believe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a full season. Yep. For a full season, it's a career low. He's come in for some spot starts.
Granted, he didn't play in the last game of the year, but I don't think he was going to.
Right, but regardless, obviously, he wasn't going to hit 500 attempts. He had a career low, 3,600 passing yards. I'm just worried about Kubiak in that offense. Obviously, Stefanski moving over to Cleveland as the head coach there.
Spoiler.
Yeah, and that's cool and everything. I like it. I think he's going to add a ton of value to Cleveland. But they're talking about leaving the same system in place in Minnesota, and that's a little worrying. I would like to see Cousins get more work in the passing game, but you just alluded to Stephon Diggs leaving, and I do like Diggs more than Jefferson as a downfield threat. I think Jefferson is going to clean up underneath. He came out of the slot 90% last year for LSU, and that's huge. Just being able to fill into that spot, you're going to be NFL ready, right? That offense that they had, were spreading people out wide, being the guy out of the slot, playing in the SEC, and NFL shotgun type of playbook, he's going to be ready to come in and contribute right away. But I don't necessarily see him as like a deep threat, high yard or per reception type of guy. I see him definitely cleaning up, helping around the line of scrimmage. So I'm not really high on Cousins as a QB1. I have him pretty well locked in as like a QB2, QB3.
I'm fine with him at 16. I like your ranking there. What worries me about his fantasy value is what his NFL value is. His skill set is the play action game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think last year Zimmer noticed, the year before he threw for almost, 600 more yards and 4 more touchdowns, but the Vikings weren't any good, right? They disappointed. That offense last year took off when Dalvin Cook was healthy and, they were able to run the ball. So I think Zimmer is going to be more focused on trying to win games in a very competitive division. So
yeah,
if it's working again with running the ball, I think he's going to stick with it. I think Kirk Cousins does his best work when the running game is working and he can do play action. If he has to go out and winning the game, I get worried about that if they make him one dimensional. So I'm with you, Justin. I'm okay with QB 16. I think he can spot start for me. Solid QB2 in a super flex.
I just see, like, you guys are completely right that they're going to lean on Dalvin Cook to, set up the play action and, take away those attempts from Kirk Cousins. But they're drafting for a passing offense. Like, they're not drafting offensive guards to open up more holes for Dalvin Cook. I see them passing a little bit more. They are keeping the system in place, I do believe, but they still got Rudolph. They still got Irv Smith. They still got, they got Jefferson. They got Thielen.
BC Johnson.
Yeah. I mean, I just see this offense going more like they're definitely leaning on Dalvin Cook, but I see them going towards passing offense, and they're not signing Dalvin Cook, so it's not like they're committing to him. So it's just like, you got to read the tea leaves around here.
If they don't sign Dalvin Cook, I'm tanking Cousins' value. Like if they don't sign Cook, I'm tanking his value, and I will not touch him. He will be a DND, do not draft, whatever, for sure, for sure.
He did okay in Washington, to be completely honest, and that team was pretty bad. So I watched them.
They were passing a lot though. Then
and like I said, I think Minnesota is going towards that. I even with bad running backs, Kirk Cousins can still make the yardage and the touchdowns and not make interceptions. Like I've seen him doing it in Washington.
Yeah,
like, if he can do it in Washington, he can do it anywhere.
No, absolutely. No, he's an accurate quarterback. Last year he threw for 69%, albeit he only threw 444 times. But the year before he was at 70%, and he threw the ball 606 times. So
yeah, that's pretty consistent.
yeah, absolutely. No, I mean he's an accurate passer. It's just that you want to see that volume. You want to see them throwing the ball, and everything that they've said, everything that they've shown us, especially with Dalvin Cook there healthy, that's just not going to be the case. So again, I have him kind of like in that middle of the range, QB 16. I may need to pull him a few spots back, a lot more, especially if Cook isn't coming around here by draft day. Who we got next year? Introduce yours, Imran?
Yeah, I'll get on deck. I'm going to introduce my guy, Baker Mayfield. Justin's got him ranked at QB 20, and I think he's going to be in line for a nice year this year. When he took it to terms of weapons on the offense, right? We talked about this a couple weeks ago. They are one of the deepest teams. They have 2 legitimate threats at every skill position on offense, and they drafted an offensive lineman with their first pick. Odell and Jarvis Landry at wide receiver, got Austin Rupert. And today's August 27th, and David Njoku's still on the team, so you have 2 studs at tight end. You got Nick Chubb, who was an absolute beast last year, and Kareem Hunt, who played only in 8 games, but made a lot of solid impact. He's got tons of weapons there, guys. So last year, he had a little bit of a disappointing year. He dropped down from his rookie year where he had 27 passing touchdowns, only 22 last year. And what scared us was the interceptions spiked up. Usually they don't go up in their second year, they go down. So I just think this was a team that was, just led by a poor coach. And, what was that guy's name? I already forgot about it.
Kitchens?
Freddie Kitchens, yeah, there you go. I blanked. But I like what Kevin Stefanski's going to do because I think he's going to look at what he worked in Minnesota, where he's got more weapons now, and I think he's just going to use them a lot better. So I think they have threats at every level, and I think Baker's going to have a good year, and I think Odell is going to be a big reason why as well. Last year he played in all 16 games. He had fewer receiving yards than he did in 2018 with the Giants when he only played in 12. I think that's definitely going to go up this year. I think he's going to be going back to that big play receiver, and I've seen him go in some drafts round 3. sometimes even round 4. So I think he's going to be good value there too. And we've seen him be a bona fide, top 5 receiver in the NFL and a fantasy game changer.
It can happen.
Yeah, so I think Baker could be someone who's not getting a lot of value right now, but he's just got so many weapons, and he has the talent. We've seen the talent. What do you guys think?
What do you think, Nick?
There's just a lot of historical data in Cleveland that goes against Baker Mayfield breaking out. I definitely believe that he has the talent. I just don't know why it cannot be put together in Cleveland. We've seen those productive college quarterbacks go to Cleveland and absolutely fail. I'm not saying Baker Mayfield has failed yet, but there's just a lot against him. But if anyone's to break out, it's Baker. He has the odds are stacked with him. So it's really a crapshoot. But for me, we've seen about 25 years of Cleveland Browns ineptitude, the factory of sadness. So,
not wrong.
That's kind of how I feel about it. I'm real excited about Nick Chubb, but he's not going to be one of my top running backs that I take because he's really more of a rusher than a receiver. So, it's just kind of weird with Cleveland. I'm kind of staying away. Maybe more letting them fall to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Baker Mayfield, my quarterback 20. Like him, I do, just not the system. Kind of going back to Stefanski's time with Minnesota, the attack was very concentrated on the run. Stefanski now, instead of Dalvin Cook, now he has Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So I do think that he gets very creative there, and I do think that this offense does lean on the rush. We saw last year, Diggs and Thielen come out, and we've referenced this a few times, and show their distaste in the offensive game plan. And we saw some reversion to the attack, right? We saw a few more passing plays of Thielen and Diggs, but it literally came to that point where the receivers went out in the media, spoke their mind and was like, "Where is the damn ball? Because I'm not getting it. What are the running backs doing that we're not in practice? We just don't understand." And I think that for developing Baker Mayfield, this is the exact approach that you want. If you're a Browns fan, if you're in the factory of sadness for a living, then this is exactly what you want to see. You want to see Mayfield, loosen up on the reins, more handoffs. Handoffs count. There's a great YouTube clip of Baker Mayfield talking about some handoff he gave to Nick Chubb, who took for like 90 plus yards or something like that. That's going to be the safe thing for him this year, and giving him safe looks to Jarvis Landry, to OBJ, like you had alluded to. I'm a little bit higher on Landry because the way that the system is set up, he's going to get more easy looks, drawing in the play action for Chubb and Hunt. I do think that they're going to use both of these running backs in the field at the same time to protect Mayfield. So very similar situation to Jones and Garoppolo, where they have the pieces that they need around them to succeed. You just have to go in there and essentially not fuck it up. Just drive straight and hope for the best. That's really all you can do. Baker Mayfield, yeah, I could see him as a dark horse QB1, but I think the situation where that happens, you're looking at a Nick Chubb injury, and this team becomes more vertical. I think with Kareem Hunt at the helm as your RB1, more pass friendly, not necessarily having to focus on going in between the tackles, going in for the 1 to 4 yard gains. I think that's where Baker would excel. I think that the game plan would still be focused around the rush, but your RB1 is more pass friendly. Can audible into more checkdowns and things like that. I think that's a situation where Baker could take off this year, but I'm a little bit lukewarm on that. I'm not so sure that he's hitting QB1 numbers. All right, cool. So last one we got here is Drew Lock.
Yep,
that's my guy.
All right, so Drew Lock, another guy, really good situation. Denver Broncos have all the pieces there. Like the Browns, have 2 really good running backs, Phillip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon, have solid receivers in Cortland Sutton, rookie Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler hurt. Looks like he's going to miss a little bit of time, but you still have, Deshaun Hamilton there.
Noah Fant,
Terry
Albert
Patrick. You guys are talking up Albert O. You guys have been talking him up. So there's a lot of talent there. I think Drew Lock, I think he's in contention. I think that they are gonna run a lot still. You have those 2 weapons there in Gordon and Lindsey, and they're gonna use both of them for sure. Both of them historically 1,000-yard rushers. Well, actually, I don't know about Gordon, but he's always over like 1,200, 1,100.
He scored a lot of touchdowns.
Always over like 1,200 total yards. Scores a lot of touchdowns. He's a third down back. Every down back. Lindsey, really good in between the tackles guy, and then you have a ton of talent at receiver. So yeah, if they let Drew Lock eat, if they give him any sort of respectable volume, obviously the sample size is really small, right? Limited time last year, but if they give him any real volume, I'm talking 475 passing attempts, yeah, this guy could be something. He could be something special. What do you guys think?
The offensive line just gotta keep him upright. I mean, the offensive line just had a lot of false starts, and he did get sacked a couple times. So I'm just worried about the offensive line. But if he's able to stay upright, I see no reason why he cannot succeed in this NFL. The Elway has built around him weapon wise, and I think that he's given him every opportunity to succeed. Just got to put the pieces together. And, second year is always kind of those years where you see a lot of regression from those star rookies. Hopefully he avoids the sophomore slump.
Yeah, for me, I think I mentioned a couple episodes ago, he's a quarterback I'm very high on this year. I'm going to die on that hill. I think he's going to have a big year. He's just got so many weapons. And, before he even arrived last year, Cortland Sutton was coming into his own. They gave him Jerry Jeudy. When KJ Hamler gets healthy, he'll be there. They're so loaded with weapons. And, last year in the brief time he played in those 5 games, he only had 5 sacks. Small sample size, but that is almost a third of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So if the offensive line can continue that, I think he'll be in a good spot. But the big key in the NFL we always see is with young quarterbacks, they always fail. And it's, sometimes because of their ability, but also they're in a shitty situation. They'll have a lot of coaching changes. They don't ever get weapons around them. And, that didn't happen here. I always saw some talent from him last year, and he doubled down. He gave him a lot of weapons, They also, their first 4 picks in this year's draft, 2 wide receivers, an offensive guard, and a tight end. The first 3 picks are all going to start when healthy. And then, Alberto is going to give him some matchup problems for the opposing defenses. So I think if he does what he did, if he takes a step up from what he did last year, and he being in the same offense, getting work with Pat Shermer, this could be a big season.
Yeah, absolutely. And their defense is respectable. I have them ranked at QB 23, and a big part of that is the defense. I don't see them getting into a ton of shootouts. I think the defense is going to lock out, a fair amount of teams, and I think they're going to be, a team to deal with this year. I think they're going to be a concern on a lot of people's schedules. I like Drew Lock, QB 23. Don't think I'm going to be moving him any higher than that. Someone that I'm targeting as my second quarterback in Superflex leagues. If I can get him at a bench quarterback, I've probably spent a little bit too much draft capital on quarterbacks at that point, but not a risk I'm not willing to take at this point. In Superflex leagues, it's going to be a really weird season, guys. Your starting quarterback could show up, and he could literally show up to the stadium and he just gets a false positive. He's out that game, guys.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an extra quarterback on your bench, believe me, this is going to be a weird year.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
most people only run with one.
Well, yeah, but like in Superflex, you need like 3, right?
Yeah, Superflex.
Yeah, you need at least 3. This year, you could potentially need 4. It could be that year because if you have 2 guys that pop off a false positive on Sunday or Saturday, you're screwed. There's not going to be anything for you to do. And most of the time, you can't be just dropping your quarterback all willy nilly, even if he's out 2 weeks. So yeah, it's going to be a weird year. Drew Lock, somebody that I would definitely be looking to grab at depth, at value. Anything to close it out on him, guys?
Nope. I think I'm okay on Drew Lock.
No, I'm pretty high on him. Expecting big things.
All right, cool. Yeah, this was Take It to the Hizzy, number 37. Really appreciate you guys stopping by. Smash the like button, share the video. Be well, take care. You guys got anything?
Follow us on Twitter.
That too?
2 more weeks till the season starts.
Oh, I cannot wait. Draft season is here.
2022 weeks is like 6 months, man.
That's true.
It really is.
That is true. The week.
Aren't we still in March?
I thought so.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Joe Exotic just came out.
Man, that feels like...
That was this year?
Yeah, it feels like
Dude.
a couple years ago.
God damn.
We went to that Bulls game earlier this year.
Was it? Oh my gosh. Oh no.
They were playing like basketball in front of people, humans.
We were there.
Yeah, like that was the whole thing. I feel like that was like,
a different age.
Just a different version of me. Just a younger, older,
spry,
younger actually, whatever version of myself. All right, guys, this was the Hizzy. Appreciate you stopping by. Come back soon. We'll see you around. Take care. Be well.
See you guys
later.